if we may have a call to order.
You want me to do roll call?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Roll
Member
call.
Cardo,
That was the call.
Present.
Member Gonzalez,
Gonzalez, aye.
Member Pfeffer,
Present.
Member Rodriguez,
Present.
Secretary Amoroso,
Here.
Vice Chair Burke,
Present.
Chair Alexander,
Here.
Alternate D'Erico.
All right. First item on the agenda is our election of officers. So at this time, I will do what I say, pass the
I'd
gavel.
like to make a motion.
And yes, please, we'll open it up for a motion for the officers.
I'd like to make a motion to nominate Eric Alexander to continue as the chairman of this board.
Thank you, Manny. Any second? Thank you very much. Shall we take a vote on that?
A minute. You need to ask, you basically put all the people that you want to put in nomination and then.
Oh, yeah, are there any other nominations?
Yes.
Of course. Are there any other nominations?
Yes, I'd like to nominate Susan Burke as chair.
And we have a second? All right.
Call for the question.
You don't need a second.
Yes, we have a first, and we have any other nominations at this point? No? So we have two nominations on the floor and 2 seconds.
All right, for Alexander, Member Alexander,
And you
Aye.
call them?
yeah, I'm asking if you want to vote for yourself.
I would, actually. Thank you.
Member Amoroso,
Yes.
Member Burke,
For Alexander?
yes.
No.
Member Cardo,
No.
Member Gonzalez,
Yes.
Member Pfeffer, Member Rodriguez.
Yes.
Kind of hard to vote for, not against yourself, isn't it? That's good.
All right, for Susan Burke, Member Alexander,
I'm sorry, no.
Member Amoroso,
Yes.
Member Burke,
Yes.
Member Cardo,
Yes.
Member Gonzalez,
No.
Member Pfeffer, Member Rodriguez,
No.
Isn't that like a tie?
Member Alexander, your chair.
A stay. Thank you very much.
I'm sorry, I have a quick question. Member Pfeffer voted no, but you seconded my motion. So is that an issue?
Oh, yes, you did.
Seconded the nomination of her for chair, but you voted no.
I voted for her.
No, you voted no.
I thought we were voting for Eric. We did that first time. Oh, God Almighty. I vote no.
Okay.
So now we have to.
Thank you for correcting me.
Do you want to revote? Yeah.
Okay. We're going to redo that. Member Alexander,
Yes. For
for Burke.
no, thank you.
Okay.
Sorry.
Member Amoroso,
It would.
Yes.
Member Burke,
Yes.
Member Cardo,
Yes.
Member Gonzalez,
No.
Member Pfeffer,
For Burke?
yes,
Yes.
and Member Rodriguez.
No.
We have a tie for votes.
So I thought.
I mean,
Want to share it?
we,
What is the procedure on that, Madam Attorney?
I think we need to have a prayer at this point. But anyway, I think that, because we've got a big agenda tonight, so I think that, basically we can't have a tie. So I would suggest you all vote one more time, and if we can't break the tie, then I would say let's send it to the next meeting. And then maybe everybody can think about it or whatever, because we can't just keep voting. And there is no easy way to break the tie.
Well, I voted yes twice, so if I just change it to her, doesn't that break the tie?
Yes.
So if I
Okay.
can change that,
To Member Burt?
yes.
Okay. Here you go.
Yes, we have to vote for vice chair.
I nominate Member Cardo for vice chair.
I didn't realize I was,
For vice chair, we need... Anyone else? Okay, then there's no need to vote, then Cardo's vice chair. Everybody okay? Do we have to, any more officers we have to vote for, Jessica?
We need a secretary.
We need a secretary. Would somebody like to put someone in?
I make a motion that we nominate Rachel to stay as secretary of the P&Z board.
Okay?
I
Is it-
second that.
Okay, is there any other person that anybody wants to nominate? No? Okay, then she stays as secretary. And if everybody's done with voting, then we can move on to the agenda, okay?
The next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes from the Planning and Zoning Board hearing held on April 17th, 2024.
Those in favor?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
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 No, those, what is the,
It's on the agenda.
excuse me? That the board requested that we have a workshop?
That was in an email. That was in an email, wasn't it? That was an email.
Well, as it stands, it seems as though the I has to amend it. I don't, we can bring it up again at the end of this meeting if we want to add that matter to the agenda. I don't have a reflection that there were board members' comments in that regard for a workshop.
Yeah, I don't have a recollection that we had that conversation at the end of the last meeting.
You did get the email that came out that asked, availability.
That's right.
Correct, it was via email.
Okay, so does that meet your satisfaction? Excuse me?
They haven't gotten back to us yet.
Right, no, I'm just saying as far as the minutes, as I see the minutes are adopted as they are. The next item on the agenda is, I think, public forum, is it? Presentations. Any presentations for today?
No.
Public forum?
Yeah. Can,
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Tim Bodgett.
Good evening. Can you please state your name? I think you have to speak up a little, if you can.
It's not on.
Now,
Better.
maybe a little more volume. For those of you who don't know me, I've sort of taken a big interest in the stormwater problems that we have here in the town. And I found out that they are definitely multifaceted and have had a long history, going all the way back to 2004 when they did a study on the stormwater here in Deltona. Most of that study was ignored. And then the most recently completed was 2017. That was mostly ignored. And there's currently one for the Lake Teresa Basin, which consists of a huge portion of Deltona. And I hope that isn't ignored. It'll be completed next year. But there are some things that you can look forward to. One is that we have to look for inland water storage solutions. What that means is we got to dig us a great big pit to put all this stuff in. St. John's Water Management is not going to allow us to dump our sewage into their river anymore, not unless we treat it, clean it, settle it. We've also got some mandates that if we use too much of our aquifer allotment, we have to clean up some water and put it back. We also have things going on in the state of Florida where you have to, they don't want people to have drainage fields in their homes anymore. And as I understand it, there's already some time deadlines coming up where the folks that are closest to the rivers, they have to go on some sort of city septic system. So, since you're the planning board, and since I also understand that when they established you folks back in the early 2000s, instead of doing anything that was completely unique to Deltona, you simply took what the county had, rubber stamped it, and imposed it on Deltona. Well, that ain't working. So, I would like you folks to start considering things like, let's not put houses 5 feet or within their neighbors like you've been doing. Let's not, let's put in some porous driveways. It's very possible to do, but we're not. We need a lot of things done, and we need to stop catering to all of the developers who love to take 1 acre lots where you're allowed one house per acre and simply turn them into an RPUD where they can stack houses and residents on top of each other. So that's pretty much my beef, and that's pretty much what I'd like you all to start considering, because as I understand it, we are, and you will be, updating the governance for the city on what we're going to be doing in the years to come, and we really, really need it.
Well, thank you for your comments.
Have a good night.
On the board. Thank you. That was the end of public comment. Mr. Pfeiffer, Dr. Pfeiffer, you had some questions?
Yeah.
But I'm not sure this is appropriate forum to ask questions.
May I address the chair?
Sure.
The public comment section of public forum is supposedly limited to items on your agenda.
I understood that.
And so, yeah.
I let them go. That's why I don't want to entertain any questions at this point. I thought I extended my discretion as much as I could. I don't think it should go any further. So we'll go on to...
Violation of the First Amendment rights.
All right, sir. We're going to go on to old business. There's none. New business. It's Resolution 2024-25, granting a conditional use to permit an automobile service station Type A within the Retail Commercial District C1 for the property located at 625 Highland Boulevard. Good evening.
Hello. Good evening, Planning and Zoning Board. Jonathan Knight, for the record, Planner 1. Resolution number 2024-25 is for the application requesting the conditional use of a C1 property within the city of Deltona. The subject property is in the southeastern section of the city at 625 Howland Boulevard. The parcel is around 0.78 acres and is currently undeveloped. The applicant, Avid Group, is requesting the permission to construct a 3-bay Strickland Brothers quick oil change facility. Quick service oil change facilities are considered automotive service station Type A per City of Deltona Land Development Code, which requires a conditional use approval within the C1 Retail Commercial District. Within the conditional use, the applicant is requesting a reduction in stacking positions as well as parking, with the intent of reducing underutilized asphalt and concrete. The .78 acres of land is comprised of 4 adjacent parcels of record, which will be legally combined upon approval of conditional use. The parcels are located within the C1 Commercial Retail District and are scheduled to remain commercial within the future land use map. This project is at the corner of a major intersection and is abutting other commercial properties to the north, east, and south, as well as single-family residential to the west. Conditional uses have 11 matters of consideration reviewed to consider the proposed use's feasibility. This includes consistency with zoning, comprehensive planning, and the future land use. Public impact is also considered, including safety, interest, pollution, and traffic. Highlights from this review include the following. The site is zoned C1, which allows for automotive service station, type A, via conditional use. The future land use is also commercial, meaning that the development is in alignment with the comprehensive plan and future land use. The site will provide services that are not currently available within the city of Deltona, and the proposed use will not generate undue traffic congestion. It will also encourage residents to service their vehicles locally. This slide is depicting the conceptual plan, which will go under further review upon final site plan submittal. This site can be accessed by both Fort Smith and Howland Boulevards with the right-in, right-out ingress/egress. After review, staff recommends that the Planning and Zoning Board recommend the City Commission to approve Resolution Number 2024-25, granting a conditional use for the automobile service station Type A to be allowed at 625 Howland Boulevard with the following conditions. A combination of lots application is required to combine lots 15, 16, 17, and 18, and a final site plan application is required. Do I have any questions?
Begin. Anyone, any questions? You may proceed.
Could you turn your mic on, please?
Forgetting, the curb cut onto Fort Smith is relatively close to that intersection.
Yes, sir.
And there's a lot of high school kids walking there. I mean, I consider myself an expert because I go to Dunkin' Donuts every day.
Right.
And I'm just wondering why you can't have a curb cut onto the street behind it as opposed to onto Fort Smith. If you go back to your picture.
So to my understanding, the road behind it is an alleyway, and it would have to be improved to roadway standards to be accessed, at least by the public.
And you can't move it closer to the alleyway?
The Fort Smith exit,
Yeah.
it's almost to the edge of the property
Certain setbacks you got to have.
because it's pretty close to the alleyway.
You're talking about the exit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all the way by the alley. So this is Fort Smith and Howland, this is one exit, and this is the other exit.
Okay.
So that corner, I guess Duncan is right here, I believe?
Yeah, across the street.
So there won't be cars turning near those kids.
No, what I'm worried about is kids coming around here and having this thing so close. Usually there's some sort of distance.
Madam Chair.
Yes,
That's all the way, almost to the alley, almost to the end of the property.
Yeah, but is it still safe?
I can't hear you. Is your mic on? Are you saying you don't want
Me, so, sorry. So they need to talk in their mics. We have people sitting in the audience, so they can't hear what you're saying.
I can't
So-
understand what you're saying. I'm sorry.
You need to use your mic because the folks in the audience will not be able to hear you speak.
I was just trying to show them the picture of where the exit was. And I mean, if you look at that, I don't know how much, you're saying it's not safe, but I don't know how much further they can go towards that alley.
Well, the question is whether it's safe, not how far back they can go.
Okay, I misunderstood that.
Actually, it is how far back there, because there are certain setbacks and guidelines for turn lanes and angles. There.
Madam Chair?
if I might,
Excuse me?
Madam Chair, if I
Yes.
might. The access on Fort Smith is at the most western portion of their property line, and that is why it is strictly a right-in, right-out, and not a full access due to the safety issues and the close proximity to the intersection of Fort Smith and Howland Boulevard.
Let me stop us right now. I did not, nor did we address any conflict of interest. And this discussion reminds me that the board has not said anything regarding visiting the site or anything of that nature, or ex parte communication.
This is not a quasi judicial.
Okay.
It's a conditional use. So
we do not-
your last case tonight will be quasi judicial, and you'll have to do all of those things ex parte, and we have to swear witnesses in.
I understand now. I see the distinction.
Yeah, no
Okay.
problem.
No problem.
Question.
Go ahead, sir.
You're assigning one parking space per bay besides the person that's parked in the bay actually being serviced. Under no case do we want any traffic backed up onto Howland. So from any studies, have they been done? I mean, in the sense of...
I can hold that question for the applicant, please. I would like to hold that question for the applicant, please.
Are there not several parking spots on the...
There should be 2 behind the bays.
Behind the bays and additional ones?
It would be 1 including the bay and then 2 behind the bay.
Okay.
Madam Chair, if I might, there is additional parking that would be on the north side of the building, a handicap space, and I believe 3 or 4, I can't see because I don't have my granny glasses on this morning.
Is that the part near the pond? Is that the part that's near the pond, across?
Right, it's adjacent to the stormwater pond, so they do have what we would call overflow parking if necessary.
Okay.
There is additional parking. You just...
Yeah, but they're not parking, I mean, waiting.
Stacking, yeah, that's one of the exceptions is to reduce the stacking requirements.
And it's adequate.
I have the applicant available to speak further on that. Do you have any further questions for Planning and Development Services?
I have questions for the staff.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm looking at the site plan, and I see that what it looks like property line for here, the driveway or going to Fort Smith at angles, seems like a area that you could straighten that drive to give more room or between the driveway itself and Howland Boulevard. You know what I'm talking about, right there on the left-hand side?
Yes, sir. That will be taken into consideration during final site plan review, but I also can have the applicant explain why they chose this design process.
I'm sorry, what was that?
It will go under further review during the final site plan process, but also the applicant is available to speak on why they chose this design at this time.
Well, the only reason is I know that that's what they want, but I'm going along with Alan here about the safety issue with the children. That's why my question. Another thing, from the staff, your recommendation is for us to approve this, but are we going against our own rules that says that we have to have 4 parking spaces per bay?
That is a part of the request of the conditional use.
But you're going along with the road, right?
Pardon me?
So you are going along with it?
At this
That's
moment.
a recommendation from the staff?
Yes, sir, at this moment.
What is your rationale for going along with that then?
The applicant can further explain.
Type of use, Amy.
Okay.
Any other questions for the staff?
Thank you all.
Good evening. Can you please state your name?
My name is Evan Futch. I'm with Avid Group. We're located out of Lake Mary at 1337 South International Parkway, Suite 1311. Basically, I've worked with staff extensively about the issues that you guys have brought up tonight. We have provided as part of the packet, part of our submittal package, a stacking analysis for this type of use. This isn't our first time developing this type of user. We have other projects in motion throughout the state of Florida. And looking into that and looking into how they work, they're obviously a 10-minute oil change. The stacking analysis that's within your package indicates that even though it's a 10-minute oil change, I had done number calculations for saying it's closer to 14 to 15 minutes with transaction times. And if you look at that based on your hourly rate and the amount of people that are coming in based on the ITE code for your trips in the AM peak hours and PM peak hours, the stacking that is presented, not counting the person in the bay, the stacking on the outside with the double stacking is more than adequate to serve the use. In fact, we originally came in with the application with only one space stacked behind the building versus the two that you see now. Staff was very adamant that that couldn't work, even though, you know, we do have the report that shows otherwise. We readdressed that. We moved the building as far to Howland as we are allowed to by code and by turning movements for getting out of the building. And to compensate and to be able to do two points of this. One is being able to add an additional stacking space, and also to having that ability to further expand the building a little further away from the residential that's to the west, because that was obviously something that we've always been concerned with. Lastly, answering your question, I believe, Manny, Mr. Rodriguez?
Right.
About the driveway. We originally did put the driveway a little closer, but the problem is code, it requires a certain turning radius on that driveway.
Okay.
And also, we did the same thing on the north. We took that all the way to the property line, a little bit past the property line, and it ended up where it's at because the radius can't exceed the distance of the property line. The very point of the radius where it starts to turn, it can't exceed the property line. So and with utility instructions.
Oh, I see. Yeah, okay.
We had to put it where it was. But it is a crosswalk, and do keep in mind, I understand your concerns with the crosswalk with the kids. But the fact of the matter is that of all the users that could go in this corner, this is a very low yielding user. This is a very good user for this corner and for the size of the property. And we sincerely request that the site be recommended for approval.
I have one more question. How many employees will be staffing this business?
It ranges between 4 to 6 max, right? Yeah. 4 to 6.
Where are they going to park?
That would be the parking spaces that you see that we're showing. We asked for a reduction in the number of parking spaces.
How many?
We reduced it, I believe, by 2, if I recall. And the reason for that is, first, we didn't want to eat up any of the space up by the pond. And 2, with what we're showing currently for parking spaces, it will meet the requirements for the employees. No customers get out of their vehicle. There are no customer interactions for the
I
to use
understand
parking.
that. I understand. How many spaces are there for parking for employees?
6.
Okay.
Because we anticipate no more than 6 employees.
About 6 max. Most stores have about 3.
This is the developer of the property.
So that means the 7th manager that comes to visit has no place to park.
There's no 7 manager. 6 is a busy
I mean, you're going to
day.
have a safety inspector at some point in time that's going to come by. Where are they going to park?
They're going to park in a parking space. But, well, keep in mind, too, you know, I show 6 up there. I'm only talking about the regular parking spaces. We do also have an ADA space that technically are providing 7. My apologies.
All right, very well. Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions for me?
Any other questions? You may proceed.
So Volusia County has jurisdiction over Howland Boulevard. Have you submitted anything to Volusia County?
We have. We've had extensive meetings with Volusia County. That's how our driveway ended up where it's at, along with conversations with the city, too. We didn't exclude the city just because it was a county road. We did have conversations on both ends on it to put the driveway where it's currently located. Obviously, if there needs to be any shifting during site plan review, there will still be that. It shouldn't affect the outcome of the conditional use tonight, but
So you haven't actually submitted civil engineered plans yet?
not allowed to. We have to get our conditional use first.
Okay, so you've just shown them this concept plan.
This concept plan is a very well-engineered plan. We'll probably use this exact site that you see as being submitted as our engineering plan. What you're looking at is pretty much what it's going to be.
So that's a yes. That's all that they've seen so far.
Yes, that's all that they've seen so far.
Okay, the speed limit on Howland is 45 miles an hour. Coming up to that signaled intersection, what's DOT's requirement with regards to separation between that driveway and that signaled intersection? Do you know?
It's more than what the actual driveway is shown, but we pushed it all the way back, and they wanted it all the way back originally.
Yeah, it's actually 440 feet. So, and you've got 156 feet of frontage. So you're well short of that requirement. And so that's why I'm wondering why Volusia County is allowing you to put that driveway there. If that light is green, do you live in Deltona?
I live near Deltona.
Okay, I'm sure that everybody here on the board has used that intersection frequently. If you're at that intersection and you have a green light on Howland, people are doing 45, if not more.
And that's understood.
To be an individual coming towards Fort Smith, traveling down Howland Boulevard, wanting to make a right-hand turn into this oil change facility, you'd need to be very cautious because traffic is moving pretty quick. As a matter of fact, you'd probably be better off making the right-hand turn and coming in off of Fort Smith.
And that is a viable
So given that, sorry?
And that is a viable option.
Yes, but, people are going to try to make that right-hand turn, even though you've got a pork chop. Is that a raised concrete pork chop that you have there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So people are still going to try to make it. Without the benefit of a topographic survey, I'm curious as to why you put the pond there. Is that the low point on the property?
The land is fairly flat.
So is it not possible to be able to reconfigure the pond to allow the building to be shifted so that you can increase the stacking and increase the parking and not have to have those two items not complied with from what the code requires?
Due to the sight lines on the road, we found it best to have the building at the intersection.
Okay.
But you would have more
Plus
space.
too, that pond that you see is not a designed pond. That pond will probably get smaller in an emphasis to leave some of the trees on the site versus mass clearing. That pond has not been reviewed by engineers. We just filled in the area. That's about the only part of the plan that's going to really change is that pond. My apologies for misleading earlier.
So theoretically, you could reconfigure the size of the pond and not make it a big square to take up all of that room, slide the driveway further north, move the building, and also allow for appropriate stacking and additional parking that you're going to need to comply with code.
Due to utilities, we cannot move the driveway further north, and due to city code, we can't get close enough to the property line to make it work.
I'm looking at the concept plan, and I see where your driveway apron starts well south of your dashed property line. So what's the gap there?
There's utilities out in Howland Boulevard that's preventing us from moving. If we move that all the way up, because you can't really see too well in there, you'll see a basin inside the road there. They had just finished this road. Volusia County had just redone this road. So for us to remove that basin, we would be tearing up this substantial amount.
So there's a drainage culvert is what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. And basically what we tried to do originally was move it up and make the drain inside the pork chop. So that way we didn't touch it. Sorry, I'm loud though. So we didn't touch it. And that put our radius over the property line, and we did get hit for a comment from the city on that. So we moved everything back down, and then after speaking with the county on it and told them we're gonna have to rip all this up in order to make this work, they accepted just a few feet shorter to go ahead and save that inlet and not have to change it. It was a reasonable move.
So theoretically, you could go underground or connect to the back of the inlet, and you wouldn't have to have an above pond, right? You could exfiltrate.
We don't usually exfiltrate if there's no cause for it.
Well, the pond is eating up a large portion of your site, which is preventing you from being able to comply with code. You can't comply with the stacking, and you can't comply with the parking. And granted, oil change facilities providing a number of parking spaces for individuals that'll never get out of the car, I get that. However, if you do have 6 employees, then every parking space is taken except for the handicap. So what I'm asking you is, since your stormwater pond is not completely engineered, is it not possible, one, it could be reconfigured, and/or two, you could go underground or exfiltrate so that you wouldn't have to eat up so much of your site with a stormwater pond where you're not being able to use the property at grade?
Well, part of this is an economic factor. If we go ahead and go exfiltration, it's going to drive up costs of the property construction to the point where it wouldn't be able to be built. Part of the issue also rises in code with the stacking, with the extensive amount of stacking is required for these uses, hence why there are no other oil change uses, 10-minute oil changes in the city of Deltona. We looked at all these studies. We looked at how we could position the building best, but we wanted to also efficiently build out the site without covering it with asphalt while meeting the requirements of our user. So based on what you see currently on the plan is the outcome of what we come up with. Yes, we can remove some of the pond, determining if our engineers say that's possible. And the intention was to save trees to buffer. So, and keep natural landscape versus clearing out the natural landscape, exfiltration, and then building absolute sea of asphalt. It is
I'm not talking about a sea of asphalt. You could put in landscape buffers that you wouldn't have that pond there. And I don't know what your slope requirements are, but if it's any more than 3 to 1, you're going to end up with a maintenance berm and a fence, and that's going to be even more unsightly.
No, ma'am, it would be a 4 to 1.
So 4 to 1 is definitely going to require a maintenance berm, and it's going to require a fence.
It's less steep.
It's more steep. 4 to 1 is more steep than 3 to 1. So anyway, I appreciate your input. I just think that the pond is configured as it is detrimental to being able to use the property to the best of its use. So I don't know if you're at what point are you going to have your stormwater pond fully engineered?
When we submit final design, after our conditional use.
Okay, and staff, where does that application go?
It comes into the planning department, and it's reviewed by DRC, and it's approved by DRC.
Okay. And at what point do you need county approval?
We get that during the before it goes for approval. We contact Volusia County as we review it with every step.
Okay, so it won't come back to this board, but it'll go to DRC, and you'll have county approval before you approve final site plan?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Okay. You may proceed. Questions? Anyone else? I'll tell you this. I don't know if I have a question. I do have a concern. The stacking seems to be, to me, deficient. That if you guys are profitable and you're performing the services that you say you're going to perform and that the community is going to use these services, is 2 stacking really sufficient to preclude traffic from backing up onto either Fort Smith, well, it would pretty much be a Fort Smith that would back up to. And then secondly, the parking issue. I agree that you got to have sufficient parking. There's no other parking. It's not like you can park on Holland or Fort Smith to use the services. Not so much the services, but if anyone visits other than the employees. Is there anywhere to address that stacking? I mean, anywhere to address the stacking? I know you say you did analysis. I'm looking at the analysis. Not sure I understand exactly what it means, but I am concerned that if you guys are successful, that you have more than 2 vehicles in the bay. And are there any alternative or other options in that regard?
Well, currently on this user, it's very rare to see this much stacking as it is. That's why when we originally came in, we only showed 1 space of stacking. But adding the extra was to try and soften the issue a little bit and give you a level of comfort. But we don't have any more room to move forward to Howland to add another lane of stacking. So we have maxed it out.
Do you have other facilities? I know you said this is not the only one. Where is the other one located, and what is that stacking?
We have another one located in permitting process right now out in Tavares. It has one. Sorry?
Yeah, because they're just a recommendation.
It is built and constructed now. Okay. That one is only a stacking space behind it, and then a parking behind that. There's another one over in Polk County that is also in the process. It's constructed but not open yet. That one also has, that one also has one stacking as well, I believe.
And you guys have not run into problems with the...
No, not at all. In fact, part of the design that I used in my criteria for the analysis was actually taking out of code for the city of Port St. Lucie, as this is one of their requirements too, is to provide these type of stacking studies with guidance. And I used some of that information from their city when I was putting this together. We also only provided one as well there, because there you also counted the inside bay. You have one person sitting inside, and then you have the two outside. I didn't want to count that here, even though that is a reality. Technically, you have 3 cars there in each bay. I didn't want to count that here because that's not the way the code read. The code read 4 outside of the building. The building didn't count. So I didn't want to put that in this report because that wasn't fair to code. So
Okay,
I want to be as truthful.
Anyone else? Any follow-up questions? Well, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any discussion about the board in regards to, well, we should have a motion. Anyone want to propose a motion?
Well, as much as we need commercial development in Deltona, and as much as I would like to see this move forward, I'd like to make a motion that the applicant consider tabling this matter till the next Planning and Zoning Board meeting so that they can have an opportunity to complete the engineering of the stormwater pond and see if they can reconfigure the site so that they don't have to ask for a variance from parking and from stacking.
Is there a second on the motion?
I so second.
So received. Any discussion? Anyone else wants to?
We have public comment as well.
Oh, okay. Why don't we announce?
Ricardo Rios.
Good evening. I'm listening to what the gentleman is saying.
1 second. Can you just state your name again?
Oh, yes. My name is Ricardo Rios. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Good evening.
He named it, but I like the...
I was listening to what the gentleman was saying. I think this idea is the worst idea they can ever come up with in that area. I used to be a COP for the sheriff's office. These people don't have no respect for the kids that are crossing the streets. They fly down these streets. I almost got killed myself. And according to the traffic flow, is the worst thing they can ever do there. People fly down the alleyway. My grandson almost got killed. And there's no respect here for the law either. So they're going to put this behind people's houses, which I think is the worst idea they could ever come up with.
Where do you live, sir?
I live on Stallings Avenue. Right behind is the alleyway. The next street over is Howland. You got Fort Smith right there. I used to be a COP for the sheriff's office. I've seen a lot of kids, which people don't respect, in cars almost run over and killed. I've seen crazy accidents there. So I think this idea and putting something like this behind people's houses, and then I understand that Deltona's growing, I respect that, but they should put this in an area where there's not too much traffic as it is right now, and people fly down Howland. I mean, literally fly down Howland. So they're gonna put a business there in a corner, in an intersection where you got people flying down. They're gonna have no respect for the people that are coming in and out of this business, and somebody's gonna wind up getting killed. I've seen that already.
Okay.
With all due respect. With all due respect for the sentiment.
What do you see going there? It's zone commercial, something's going to go there.
Okay,
what do you think? This is one of the lowest impact developments.
Okay, the thing is, the way I look at it, that creates more traffic than what it is there now.
It could be a fast food restaurant.
Now,
would create
people
even more.
One at a time.
have the tendency of going way too fast. That's crazy. And I've seen people get killed in that. I almost got killed in that intersection because people do not want to stop. That's the main thing there. People do not want to stop. They want to go through the red lights when they want to, and you got people coming in and out. That's the way.
What do you suggest?
I suggest put it in a place where it's least harmful from somebody getting killed. That's my primary concern. I've seen teenage kids coming their bikes getting almost run over. As a COP for the sheriff's office, I used to see this constantly every single day. They leave Dunkin' Donuts, they cross the street, people want to run them over. There's no respect for the pedestrians. And I hear it, that's everywhere. But we have to prevent a tragedy from happening. A person comes into the business, get an oil change. When they leave, you don't know if you have somebody coming down the street not paying attention, and boom, there goes an accident. That's what we want to prevent, deaths and people getting hurt. That's my primary concern. As a Christian, as a person that I used to serve the sheriff's office, as a COP, that's my primary concern, people getting hurt and people getting killed.
Thank you so much.
And kids getting killed too.
Thank you so much for your comments.
You're welcome. Good evening.
Good evening. Any other public comments?
No, that was it.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion among the board? There's a motion pending? No?
Can you please speak in your mic?
If the zoning change is not approved, other things can go in there without even coming to us, because it's already approved for commercial. We're only talking about a variance, basically, to allow fewer parking spaces in effect. I'm agreeing with the motion, but I'm just saying, by having us do nothing, does nothing to prevent development in that area. That's all I want to say.
So I just want to point out, this is a conditional use, it's not a variance. The conditional use, we allow this in our zoning as under C1, but you have to have special approval for it.
No, I know, I meant to say it doesn't require a zoning change even.
Okay, I just want to point that out.
Why don't we proceed with the vote?
All right, Member Alexander?
No.
Member Amoroso?
There's no reason to table this.
Wait a minute, yeah, what are we voting on, yes or no?
We're voting on the motion to table.
So you're against it?
Would you please repeat the motion and clarify where we're voting for sending it back or moving it forward?
Right.
So my motion is to ask the applicant to table this proposal, this application for a CUP, bring it back to the P&Z board next month, and in the interim, rework the concept plan to see if they can correct the situation with regards to parking and queuing through the building, so stacking in the drive-through.
May I comment still? We're in the middle of the vote.
Yeah, you have the board discussion.
Yeah, I understand what you think you're seeing as being these major concerns, but I trust, you said the county looked at this, right? DOT looked at this. I trust our staff who's gone through all the way. I know about the process that you have to go through to get this done. I don't see anything that is that dangerous to cost these gentlemen thousands of more dollars. Everyone's approved it except for our esteemed member here who has some, that asking you to redo the whole thing is, I think is I just disagree with that. Thank you.
Okay,
Any other discussion?
Just to clarify, it hasn't been anywhere. It hasn't been submitted to county. It can't be submitted to county. This is step one. They've looked at this. They haven't engineered the pond yet. The county hasn't looked at it. And with oh yes, 100%. They will. Yes, you're right. They will. And it still has to go through the process. Absolutely. But
there's no reason for us to
And you are welcome to your opinion, as am I, and that's why I made the motion, asking the applicant if they would consider reconfiguring their concept plan to alleviate the lack of parking and to alleviate the lack of stacking so that this project will comply with code, because I do agree that we do need commercial businesses and we do need commercial development in Deltona.
I have a point of order. Your motion, I don't think is legal.
Talking to the mic, please.
I am.
The motion's
I don't think that motion is, you don't ask the developer, you just say, we're tabling the motion.
Well, that's fine. I mean, that's what, in essence, that motion is.
Yeah, but it's got to be worded properly, right?
Well, if any of you misunderstood it, I mean, basically, the motion was to table to the next P&Z meeting next month and to work on those particular issues that have been explained. That's the motion. There was a motion and there was a second.
So,
and you
Now
need
we're
to
having
vote.
discussion. Yes. I'm going to cut
That
off
was
discussion.
her opinion.
at
Call
this
for the
time.
question.
Call for a vote.
All right, Member Alexander,
Again, no to the motion.
Member Amoroso,
No.
Member Burke,
No.
Member Cardo,
Yes.
Member Gonzalez,
No.
Member Pfeffer,
Yes.
Member Rodriguez.
Yes.
Motion fails, 4-3.
I would like to make a motion that we move forward with approving this, recommending that it move forward with this bill.
I'll second.
So I have a motion by Alexander, a second by Gonzalez.
Let's vote.
All right, Member Alexander,
Yes?
Member Amoroso,
Yes.
Member Burke,
Yes.
Member Cardo,
Yes.
Member Gonzalez,
Yes.
Member Pfeffer,
Yes.
Member Rodriguez.
No.
Motion passes.
Let's turn our attention to the next matter on the agenda, which is Resolution 2024-19, granting a variance to allow a 6-foot wooden fence in the side street yard located on the property at 402 Valley Terrace within the R1 single-family residential zoning classification.
All right, good evening, Planning Zoning Board. Jessica Entwistle, Planner 2. For the record, resolution number 2024-19 is for a variance at 402 Valley Terrace. The applicant is requesting a variance to allow a 6-foot fence in the side street yard, although a fence permit was approved for the 5-foot fence in the side street yard. This is the background of the variance. The fence has been a code violation since November 2022 and has 2 extensions so far. In April 2023, the applicant was approved for a fence permit, which was removed and which was for a removal and reinstall. This is an enlarged picture of the survey of what was approved by the zoning tech for the fence permit. The pink depicts the 5-foot fence, and the yellow is the 6-foot fence. On the left-hand corner, you can see the zoning tech put 15 feet. That is because the 6-foot fence is able to start 15 feet from the property line. These pictures are taken from Volusia County property appraisers. This was just meant to show you that the footprint of the fence has changed. And matters of consideration. The property is a corner lot, which is not unusual for Deltona, as there are many lots that have to abide by the same rule. The special conditions and circumstances the applicant did not follow the permit that was approved. Since the applicant did not follow the approved permit, the circumstances are a result of the actions of the applicant. Staff does not interpret the lack of a 6-foot fence as a hardship because all other corner lots are required to comply with the Land Development Code. The land is being utilized as a single-family home, so it's usable. Also, Granting the variance is not necessarily consistent with the comprehensive plan because it's not something that is called out, really. It just says we have to maintain guidelines and regulations for fences. And staff believes the property is not being prohibited from reasonable use, as all properties in the city are required to follow the land development code. The fence work was originally done without a permit, and the applicant did not follow the approved permit that was approved in April 2023. And staff recommends the Planning and Zoning Board recommend the City Commission deny the request for a variance to allow the current 6-foot wooden fence to remain in its current condition at the side street yard at 402 Bali Terrace. And are there any questions?
You're wanting to allow the 6-foot, correct?
No, I'm asking you to deny it.
Well, I don't mean, I'm sorry. Yeah, I meant to deny the 6-foot.
Yes.
And currently, there is one there. The fence is there.
Yes.
And it's at 5 feet?
It is at 6 feet.
It's at 6 feet, so it's a replacement. If we were to allow it, it'd be a replacement of the current fence?
So in this one right here, in the pink, the darker reddish pink color, this is their approved permit that the zoning tech approved. So the pink is supposed to be 5 feet. It's 6 feet right now, so that's why they're asking for a variance.
How much of what's supposed to be 5 feet is 6 feet? All of it?
Everything that's red or pink or whatever color it looks like right now.
Is the applicant here to speak on their behalf?
Yes.
Yep.
Let's finish with the questions for staff, and then we can ask the applicant.
Yeah, does this have to do with the ordinance about it being on the corner? Doesn't that determine? And you can have a 5 or 6 foot, but it has to be.
Yes, so in December, we changed the fence ordinance to allow them to put a 5-foot fence right at the property line. Before that, you could not do it. You had to go to the setback, which is normally 15 to 20 feet. So since December, we're now allowing you to do the 5-foot right at the property line.
Okay, which is not very tall, but okay.
Any other questions for staff?
I just wrap my brain around it here. Yes.
All right. Like to hear from the applicant.
Thank you, Jessica.
Good evening, Planning and Zoning. My name is Brandon Monsanto. The fence was built without the permit. As of 2 years ago, they changed it to where your existing fence, if you change 2 or more panels with an existing fence, then you need a permit to do it, and that just changed 2 years ago, which I wasn't aware of. The existing fence fell down, which was already at 6 foot on that corner lot. So I was just repairing the damages that was done, and wasn't aware of needing a permit for fixing that because I wasn't aware of the laws or the city ordinance changing that. So I went and got the permit afterwards, and I was told that the fence can't be 6 foot on that section in the corner of the lot, and that's why I'm here today, to get the variance to keep my fence at 6 foot. And it doesn't impede traffic at all. Once you come to the stop section, you can see perfect. The fence has no impeding of the traffic. It remains aesthetics just fine. None of my neighbors have had anything bad to say about it. If anything, they had just compliments from them. I just wish I could keep it at 6 feet and not have to change it, please.
You said you were repairing it. There's a difference between just doing some little repairs and a replacement. And then you said, were you personally, you were just doing work on it?
I was repairing the damages because it fell over. The existing fence fell over, and I was repairing it, yes.
When you say repairing it, so you were pulling it back in place, is what just...
Sorry. Removing the old fence and installing a new one, yes.
I was just trying to determine if it was more of a new thing or if you were just placing it back where it was, exactly the same.
It follows along the lines of where it was pretty closely.
Okay.
It's not too far. No, it's not drastically changed. Even I've had some of my neighbors come up to me and they're like, why are you making me do this? You had a fence there, and it looks even better, far better than what was there.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Yeah. Were you issued the permit in 2023, the permit number BLDR 23-2248?
Sorry, say it again?
Were you the one that was issued the permit
Oh, yes.
in 2023?
Yes.
Was this part of the permit that you received?
That's mine. I went and got that. That's my survey of my lot.
So the survey of your lot, was it a part of the fence permit that you were issued in 2023?
No.
Your survey is one of the requirements for a fence permit.
Yeah.
And then we stamped it. I just didn't include the stamp part, so this was part of the survey, or the fence permit. We give it back to you.
Okay.
So when you got your permit and this was attached, this gave you an outline of what was required for the permit that you were issued, right?
Yes. And the fence was already existing at that point.
So you were permitting a fence that was already existing.
Yes.
So the fence that you were permitting that was already existing was at 6 feet.
Yes.
Did you understand that that red/pink line needed to really be at 5 feet?
That
way it's
that was after the fact. That it was when it was built. That was after the fact.
Well, this is all new construction.
So you didn't understand that the fence permit that you were being issued with that for an existing fence that you'd already put up meant that 1 foot of that red-lined part of your fence needed to be at 5 feet and not 6 feet?
Oh, no, I understand that. That's why I'm trying to get the variance.
Did you understand that when you were issued the permit?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
The pictures on this, Mr. Manzano, this is a new fence. You weren't just repairing your old fence, you were putting up new wood and everything, right?
Yes.
This was a new fence, yeah.
Yes, sir.
And that always requires a permit, yeah. And had you hired someone, they would have went out and got a permit and would have come back and told you, you can't do it that way. But anyway.
Mr. Gonzalez, you have questions?
Yeah, on this, maybe it's a legal question, but doesn't this basically fall under the grandfather rule as far as you can see in the 2006 aerial, the fence line, yes, it doesn't turn into the home, and then the 24 where it's done, if he said the fence was damaged and he's replacing it, we all know what hurricanes do in this area with the fences. Wouldn't he be grandfathered in for a 6-foot fence if what was damaged and he's being replaced as a 6-foot? He would have to follow
He has to follow the rules at that time. And, I don't believe he's allowed to have a 6-foot fence there. That's not what the rule is. The rule is 5.
Yeah, but previously, was there a rule for 6-foot fence?
I don't know, Jessica, because I don't know that.
We would have to go back into past permits and see if there was a permit pulled for that 6-foot fence in that corner. It depends on at what time that one was originally pulled. Sorry.
Yeah, that's the question. And my question now is was this not be grandfathered in if it was pulled and it was a 6-foot fence and it got damaged and he's replacing it? Yes, we're going to see new wood.
Technically, it's been changed as well. It's now touching the house, and the footprint's not exactly the same.
Yeah, it jars in and comes to the house. Okay, so there's that section right there.
So that would mean he couldn't be grandfathered in because he is changing the footprint. So that would require a permit no matter what, because you're changing it.
That.
So one of the changes was the setback, obviously, too, right? You could could he keep his 6-foot fence as long as he keeps it within the 15 feet? Does that make?
Yes, he would have to move it 15 feet back from the property line.
So it depends on what you want, 6-foot fence or 15-foot property. Yeah.
Even if you have a okay or variance or permit that allows you to do something, once you materially change that item, then you have to comply with the existing code that exists at that time. So even if he did have the 6-foot, my understanding is even if he did have a 6-foot fence, once he made a change to that fence, then he had to be in compliance.
Well, the only
with the new
change that's noted is that where it jogs into the house.
Even when it's destroyed. Even if it's destroyed, he's putting it back, but he obviously did not put it exactly back where the other one was.
That's the issue. Yeah.
So the question here is whether the board would want to recommend the approval of a variance when in fact it doesn't meet the code as it exists now.
So just to clarify one more time, this is, you can either have your 5-foot, well, maybe, 5 foot at the shorter distance from the property line, or you can move it over to 15 feet and have your 6 feet. Is that correct? Other than,
Yes, sir.
but I dealt with this myself.
Any further discussion, comments, questions to the applicant?
I just want to make a motion that the commission deny the request.
Okay, so deny the request for a variance or for recommending that this?
For a variance.
For a variance.
For a variance.
At this
And it was second. Does everyone understand the motion that's pending? Okay, can we have a vote?
Member Alexander?
As much as I like to help you out, man, it's got to stand. I have to vote in favor of the motion.
Member Amoroso?
Yes.
Member Burke?
Yes.
You do have an option.
Member Cardo?
Yes.
Member Gonzalez?
Yes.
Member Pfeffer?
Yes.
Member Rodriguez?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Gotta be.
Do you understand the motion that was just
Yes.
voted on?
Do you understand your options?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
The next matter pending before the board is resolution, ordinance number 08-2024, amending the official zoning map to rezone 2 parcels totaling 43.55 acres of land located south of Fernandina Drive and east of Pine Ridge High School, currently zoned City of Deltona agricultural classification A to single-family classification R1.
This is the
Do you want me to say, this is a quasi-judicial hearing.
Exactly.
I will swear in anyone who has vested rights or received a letter in the mail. If you wish to offer testimony, please stand and raise your right hand. If you just want to be in, okay, is anybody else? And you? Okay, do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth so help you God? Thank you. Anybody else in the audience that wants to talk on this matter may talk on this matter, and you do not have to be sworn in. You just have to fill out a statement and give it to them over there that you wish to speak. Okay? Madam Chair, I would ask you to poll your board with regard to ex parte communications. You know, does everybody, that is if you've spoken to anybody with regard to this matter or whatever. And then Jessica will then proceed to explain the matter in front of you.
Very good. Mr. Gonzalez?
No, I haven't spoken to anybody.
Dr. Pfeiffer? No. Mr. Rodriguez?
No, I have not.
Cardo? Ms. Cardo?
No, I have not.
D. El Rico? Is that how you pronounce it?
She's over there.
Oh. I'm sorry, I don't know what I'm thinking about. Okay.
Amoroso.
Alexandro. We've already said that several times
No,
today.
no,
I apologize.
I have none.
Alamoroso?
No.
Okay. And I visit the site about a week ago, again. So that's it.
Perfect. Ordinance number 08-2024 is for Fernanda Place Phase 3 rezone. The rezone is to change agriculture land into R1, single-family residential, for 43.55 acres of land located directly behind Fernanda Place subdivision. The rezone would allow the new phase to have 101 single-family dwellings, with over 90% of the lots being 9,000 square feet. The future land use for this project is low-density residential, and the applicant is requesting to rezone to R1, which is the typical zoning for most of Deltona Lakes lots in the city of Deltona. This is the master development plan for Fernanda Phase 3. They are not going to be impacting any of the wetlands. They are providing the 25 feet buffers, and I also provided the breakdown for the square footage in the lots. This is the current state of the property. There is a single-family home on the northern lot, and there is a nursery that is now abandoned. These are the matters of consideration in which we review. Phase 3 proposes a max density of 2.32 units per acre, which is consistent with the comprehensive plan. There will be no impacts to the wetlands, as I stated, and there's a 25-foot buffer afforded. The proposal is compatible with the previous Fernanda phases and the surrounding area, as it is the most common zoning within the city. The Volusia County School Board has provided their capacity letter, which stated they have the additional capacity for the 27 students that this will generate for the 101 lots. The TIA states the project will generate about 1,018 daily trips. Although a signal warrant analysis was done, it did not trigger a signal to be installed. Staff is recommending the applicant to perform a field study review and a signal warrant analysis after Phase 3 dwelling units are fully built out. Volusia County has also made the request to include additional data. In conclusion, the applicant is requesting to rezone to R1 zoning, which has a minimum of 7,400 square feet lots, but providing larger lots with 90% of the lots being 9,000 square feet. With the 2.32 acres, units per acre, the project is consistent with the comprehensive plan and low-density residential future land use. Staff recommends, the Planning and Zoning Board recommend, the City Commission approve Fernanda Place Phase 3 rezoning request from agriculture to R1 with the following condition. The developer shall perform a field study review and a signal warrant analysis after the Phase 3 dwelling units are fully occupied. The analysis shall include crash data at the intersection of Helen Boulevard and Fernanda Drive to identify trends and patterns and calculate crash rates frequency while considering factors such as time of day, weather conditions, and roadway characteristics. And are there any questions?
Is this the same that was before us a few months ago?
No, this land came before you guys over a year ago as an RPUD, and this is completely different than the RPUD. Right. These lots are a lot bigger than the RPUD, and they're bigger than what's in Fernanda Phase 1 and 2.
Yeah. So they changed it.
Any questions? Mr. Gonzalez? Oh, Dr. Pfeiffer.
I guess one, what's new about this one versus the one we saw? And what's the status of the problems with the so-called recreation facility that was supposed to be sorted before this all came back?
I can let the applicant talk to you about the homeowners and everything like that. I can answer to the differences. Previously, it was an RPUD. This is a straight rezone. The R1 zoning is what most houses in Deltona are zoned. So it's not going to follow a DA. It's going to follow what is in our land development code.
But I mean, in the sense of all the complaints that people had about this particular plan impacting the houses where the exit was. You know, there was a couple of lots that were on, oh my God, I don't know the name of the streets, but.
Osteen Cemetery, right?
I'm sorry?
It was the Osteen Cemetery Road or something?
No, that was right here, you know, on.
So that, I believe you're talking to one by the school, and that's no longer there.
Not the school, there were existing houses off of Fernanda Drive. And people were complaining that this came right onto their property and it was going to add traffic to their streets. And this doesn't seem to be any different to that complaint.
This is a lot less houses than what was given last time.
I'm sorry, I really can't understand you. I'm hearing.
There are a lot less houses with this request than with the past request.
It was like 143 or something before.
I do not remember. I apologize.
No, it's okay. You don't have everything memorized, Jessica?
I don't.
For a year?
I wish.
What zoning classification would support a less density? Just because there's lots of R1 in Deltona, do we have any other zoning classifications that would support less houses?
The only one that, if they moved up, would be an RE1, which is 1 unit per acre. Because R1 is one of our highest, let me think, hold on.
Greatest density at R1?
No, R1 AAA, I believe, only allows 2 units per acre.
So there's the option to rezone this from agricultural to a zoning classification that would support residential, but not at this density level.
Right.
Is that a yes?
I would have to let the applicant answer that.
Any other questions from the staff? Manny, do you have any questions from the staff?
I'm going to reserve it for right now.
Okay. Well, can the applicant join us? Come up. Thank you, Jessica.
Good evening, board members. Jesse Anderson with Pullis and Bennett from 2602 East Livingston, Orlando, Florida. We do have a brief presentation if it's possible to pull it up tonight. I apologize for the inconvenience. It's okay.
I knew that too.
That's okay. Oh, sorry.
There you go.
All right, as mentioned, we do have the Fernanda Phase 3 rezoning tonight. It is a little different from the prior Fernanda processes that you have seen before, as this is not going through the RPUD process. This is going through a straight rezoning, so we can go over those differences later if anyone has any questions, but it is important to note that for this evening's case. So as mentioned, staff did a great job, by the way, going over this case. As mentioned, it is on the south side of Fernanda Drive and directly east of the Pine Ridge High School. And as they had also mentioned, we are requesting a rezoning from agricultural to R1 single-family residential. So this is just the general overview and aerial location that shows the proximity to, in the northern area, the preceding Fernanda phases, as well as to the west, the school site that we were just mentioning. Before you here is the existing future land use map, which shows a significant amount of low-density residential surrounding the public high school area. And then proceeding into that, we show our zoning map, which does show above it to the north the RPUD that the rest of the Fernanda property is, where you have some of the R1 type of zoning district to your southern portion of the map shown before you. And then the current parcel, as noted before, is agricultural, with the request being to rezone to R1, which does have the minimum of 7,400 square foot lots, more conducive with many other types of single-family developments throughout the area, larger than those in the RPUD above it to the north.
You're asking to rezone just the area where you're building, or the whole bigger plot adjoining the high school?
Just the area in yellow we're asking to rezone. So this area right here, inside this white bubble. There are 2 parcels inside of there. So they're 43.55 acres in total. Should be the same map, I believe. Yeah, it's the same map. There might be different scales, so that might be why it looks a little different to you. But it is the same map. We are proposing R1 zoning, and the overall concept plan is before you, where it does show 92 minimum 120-foot lots, 7 110s, and then 2 7,400 square foot lots. So we do show bigger lots, and we are reducing the overall density from approximately 7 units down to the 101 before you from the 2 different applications, the preceding one and the one that's currently before you. And we are now, of course, going for a straight zoning reapplication. With that, we do meet several of the matters, all of the matters of consideration as mentioned by staff, such as the existing future land use designation allowing for up to 6 dwelling units, and us proposing only 2.32 units per acre. We also provide a 25-foot upland buffer, and we are maintaining the aesthetic characteristics of the Fernanda Place, so we are continuing those architectural features. And then the proposed rezoning maximizes the existing land uses while not constituting urban sprawl, nor also creating an area that is discontinuous or disingenuous of the traditional development surrounding that high school already. The proposed project also has compatibility with the land uses, as I just mentioned, with those residential in the public high school, and we will be required to go through the environmental analysis prior to a plat. Again, as staff had mentioned, the school board does have capacity at all levels for this development, and the project will connect to water and sewer served by Deltona. So just to sum up, staff does recommend approval with a condition, and we do request the recommendation of approval as well, and we'd like to answer any questions you may have before us. Thank you. Yes?
Proceed.
What benefit do you see this providing to the city of Deltona?
Sure, that's a great question. So as you see before you, let me go back to the site plan real quick, concept plan I should say. And as staff alluded to, several of these lots are a lot larger than the minimum for the R1 district. So what we're trying to do here is provide a variety of different types of housing structures here. Now, while most of them are at a certain level of 120 feet deep, we do have a few different variations inside of this neighborhood, and then we're also creating the larger lots because they're more aesthetically pleasing in an environment that's closer to an agricultural land area, so it's a lot more conducive with the variations to the proximity of other future land uses that are very close by.
Thank you.
What is the purpose of the lots that are a different color than the rest?
That's a great question. Those are just denoting the different sizes. So here are the 2 to the right-hand side, and I apologize, I cut that portion off. Realized right before somebody was going to ask that question, so I do appreciate that. The 2 to the east are your minimum 7,400 square foot lots. The orange parcels that are across the southern portion near the bottom are going to be your 110-foot depth lots, and the yellows are going to be your 92 units that are 120 feet deep. All of these will be 75 feet wide, which is the minimum of the zoning district that is requested before you.
Were you involved in the previous matter that came before the board last year?
Pullis and Bennett was, yes.
Okay. And so the significant difference between this concept or plan is the size of the lots?
That is one of the major significant differences is the sizes of the lots. So several of them in the RPUD are significantly smaller, 50, 60-foot lot widths. These are minimum of 75, and they also have a variation of larger lots. So we're trying to accommodate more of a variety throughout all of the Fernanda development rather than just what you've seen so far in phases 1 and 2. So this gives larger lots and an appropriate delineation throughout the area.
And how many homes were in the first proposal, the first matter?
For this specific property, or these properties? Yeah, approximately 167 were originally, and we've reduced that to 101, so roughly 50-something, 56 or so lots less.
Have you been in contact with the community, the existing residents of the
We did not hold a specific citizen participation meeting for this yet. That was not something that was a prerequisite for this application, so we have not had direct discussions.
Okay. One other question. One of the issues that was raised during the last time the matter came before the board was the amount of traffic that was going to go from that section through the section of 1 on Fernanda, the street. And that, it seems like that's the same proposal we have now before us. There's only one entrance and exit from that area, and that is to go through the existing community. Is that correct?
The property will go north. I wish I had another map. Okay, so it would continue north along this, along the, let me go to here. So along this drive, it would continue north. And going north, it would end up into this roadway, which will spill out onto Howland Boulevard for the majority of the traffic. But there is a stub out into the rest of the development, of course. But it would traverse down the roadway here to come out.
So then in that respect, it stayed the same. What is this on the map that we have? It's the first map, I believe, is in our section. It actually looks like there's a road to the south.
Yes, we're going to step out to the south as well. So as future development continues to happen, it'll be able to alleviate traffic even further. And that is something that we've worked with staff with and something that we feel is very important to the overall project as well as the dynamic of the area.
Do you own the land south of this parcel?
Not at this time.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions?
Question, the only exit out of this proposal here is through the existing area, right?
Currently, there is only one exit to the north, and then there will be the step out to the south, but currently, yes, there would be one exit to the north.
One exit to the north?
Yep.
How about, there's one I see sort of to the south?
Yep, there will be a future exit to the south.
Future meaning when?
When southern property below this property are developed.
That could be 15 years from now, right?
Potentially at any point in time, yes. Okay. However, just for clarification.
What you're going to create is a friggin' mess in the morning and in the afternoon at that juncture right there.
So in a two-part response to that comment, definitely respect that. One is that we have the potential requested signal warrant analysis that is not directly for this specific position, but it is to overarchingly have us go through more of a transportation analysis for this area, which will be part and parcel of the subdivision construction plan process.
And transportation analysis is like anything, paper will hold anything you put on it, so that's my take on that. Now, I have a question. This is going to be eventually HOA, right?
It's likely to be, yes, sir.
Okay. So where in this property that you're going to develop now, where is the amenities for this neighborhood?
I will let our applicant respond to any HOA questions, if that's possible.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't believe you were sworn in, were you, earlier?
Raise your hand when she did that.
Council will assist you.
You do it, I don't remember. Do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth to help you, then?
Yes.
Thank you.
Hi, Tina Lee, Ashton Woods, 1064 Greenwood Boulevard, Suite 124, Lake Mary. This will be part of the existing HOA. This is phase 3 of the Fernanda development, so it will participate in the HOA amenities that are currently there. At the last meeting, it was decided the residents did not want a second amenity.
The last meeting, there was a big question of the previous development didn't finish the recreation area, the amenities. So where does that stand now?
So all the amenities were completed. There was only one amenity, which was the amenity center with the pool and the clubhouse. That's the only amenity there.
All right, so the amenity is what you have existing today?
Correct.
And the residents of the existing 2 areas voted not to have a secondary amenity. Is that what you're saying?
That was the consensus.
So the 4 people that are coming here have no say so until you turn the HOA over to the citizens, right? I mean, who runs the HOA today? The builder, right? The developer.
So the developer still
according to Florida statute, you run the development. You still run it until it's complete, right?
We have two members on the board.
Sure. Okay, but you still run it. So now, if I recall, in the prior discussion we had about this area, you had a real mess with the amenities and the parking and the traffic. So what you're going to do is you want to try to sell property to individuals that have no idea what they're getting into, which is a total mess that you are creating, from what I can see here, based on what happened before, because the people were complaining. But then you tell me they're very happy and they don't want any additional amenities. And from what I heard the last time is that people were fighting because they couldn't get to the pool. I'm just asking.
So again, the last comments that we had from them, the last round that we went with them was that they did not want a second amenity, did not want to pay for an additional pool. So that was pulled off the plans. These homes are larger, and therefore, if these folks want to have a pool, they can put a pool in their backyard.
Just asking the question, that's all.
When did these last comments come? You indicated the last time you consulted with the community.
The last time we we're in communication with there's an owner representative on the board, and there's constant communication with her. But the last time we held a community meeting was the last round that we were presenting.
So you had two representatives that said they didn't want the amenities based, which I understand that.
So the one pool will accommodate the existing residents as well as the additional 100 plus homes. Okay. Correct? That one pool will accommodate the whole?
Yes, it should. Based on the calculations, it should. Okay. We understand that these are multi-generational families living in one home, and therefore not standard, and have many people that do attend the pool, but it's based on code, and we built the pool there to the size that it was supposed to be built.
Okay, thank you.
So this is 110 homes, most likely couples or whatever, 2-3 adults maybe per household because they're bigger homes. I just can't understand how one way in and one way out is remotely reasonable. 110, even if one person lives per home, 110 people are going to have to pass 2 homes every day and then go down the same way. I mean, the last time it was an issue with if a fire truck was coming in and people were leaving, but for one way in and one way out, I agree that you're creating a disaster, not just for traffic, but for everything. And I mean, I can't see the benefit that it serves to this city, and I, as a future purchaser of a home, would never in a million years consider buying a home like that. Just saying, my opinion doesn't matter, but one way in, one way out just doesn't seem reasonable at all.
Sure. Okay, so I can definitely answer that, and again, a two-part way. First and foremost, this is a concept plan in a rezoning case, so this is not by any means a finalized plan. There's still significant amounts of change that may occur to it. Tonight, we are looking for an ability to construct a plan similar to this in regard to the zoning entitlements that are for the R1 zoning district. With that, we are not going forward with an RPUD, so the amenity center that has been discussed, while it is in the same HOA, is not a requirement of the R1 zoning district. We are looking to be, again, in compliance with the R1 zoning district, and through that request, we are able to do 7,400 square foot lots or larger, which is our request before you tonight, which is in compliance with the future land use element. Now, for the aspect of the single entry point, we are creating a secondary once the development to the south is something that is more compatible and ready to come forward. Until that point in time, there is a code that we go through that we are maintaining in alliance with the development code in the land, which is to have one entryway for under 250 dwelling units. And then you need an access point at that. You need an emergency access over 250 dwelling units. And then after that, it's 2 access points at 500 dwelling units. So currently at 101 dwelling units, we do not meet the requirement for 2 access points, which is why we've only provided 1 at this point in time. But we do want to embrace the connectivity of the region, which is why we've made sure to create more of a linear route that will allow for a secondary access and more connectivity overall once the south has been developed.
I think Timbercrest, that's only got 1.
Dr. Pfeiffer?
The question was, last time, was that the pool and existing recreational area was overburdened and unfinished. The question of the neighbors existing neighbors not wanting to pay for another one doesn't alleviate the condition that it's overcrowded.
Sure.
It just says they didn't want to pay for it, and now you're coming in with another 110 houses that we know it's going to overburden it further, and I guess it's within our task to protect the area. The second, or the residents. The second thing is that I think the area is overburdened, and we ought to have some development in this area that has larger lots with fewer things, as opposed to cramming more in and just pushing the overcrowding further, whatever direction toward me is east, I guess.
Madam Chairman. Madam Chair, I have a question. Is this procedure, but is it possible, do we have any people that are going to speak tonight?
I think there are.
May I
some
answer those
public-
two questions before?
For 1 second, sir. Sir.
Yeah, of course.
We're having discussion up here, so I would ask for you to wait until I ask for your involvement.
Would it be possible before we even attempt to vote on this thing or make a motion to allow the people that are going to speak to
Yes,
speak?
we will. After the applicant speaks.
Okay,
then
very well,
we'll
thank
have-
you.
Oh, public.
Thank you.
All right.
Madam
You may
Chairman.
proceed now.
Sorry. Just to address those 2 points. To reiterate again, this is a straight zoning case, so legally it does not have any influence or association with the RPUD to the north. It is a separate case altogether. So the amenity centers and the traffic issues that are specifically internal to that RPUD are not associated with this R1 zoning district case before you. Secondly, while I do understand and am empathetic to a situation where there is unruly types of development, this is an agricultural property that is underutilized directly across from a high school. So allowing for more units to actually be in an area that is walkable to a high school will allow for a greater type of development community. And because of the type of linearity we are projecting, it will create an overall interconnected sphere that is adjacent to a high school rather than having underutilized agricultural property.
Please don't patronize us, okay? Listening to you is like going to see a preview of a coming attraction. And I want to know from your coming attraction what the other people think about that movie that is coming. And that's what we're asking, so that people can speak.
Well, we're still asking questions of him.
It's procedural.
We'll take in. Any other questions before? No? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Curtis Hoover.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening. I'm Curtis Hoover, and I got a question about this concept plan.
Can you tell us where you live, your address?
What they want to do.
Can you, sir?
I don't.
Sir, can you tell us your address where you live?
Your what?
Can you tell us where you live?
Oh, where I live? 810 Osteen Cemetery Road.
Okay.
Right down the street from where that is the cemetery.
Okay. All right, I'm sorry, proceed.
Okay. I live just just south of that, on that same street, and that is on Osteen Cemetery Road, okay? That's what I want to know is how they're going to make access of all these people coming in and out of the property on just a little cemetery road that's just 2 lane. Are they going to widen this? Are they going to widen the road, put in sewerage, sidewalks? And this will connect to Trade Street. That is going. Trade Street is going east and west. Okay. Well, the other thing is, I noticed that this was 43.55 acres. Okay. previous to where they're planning to put this, I don't know if it's the same people or not, but on the west side of that, just in behind Pine Ridge High School, was the same amount of acreage, 43.5 acres, that there's going to put in homes, to develop homes right behind the high school in the same area. And I'm just wondering why they changed from that area to the east side and put the same amount of, I guess, the same amount of homes there, and how they of how they're going to get, of how the traffic is, what they're going to do with the traffic. I mean, are they going to widen the road for the Osteen Cemetery Road for these people? These are the questions that I've got. I'd like to know.
Okay, we will ask the applicant if they have intentions of widening the Osteen Cemetery Road. Is that the question you would like to? Okay.
Are they going to widen that road? Are they going to widen it just for these, for this development? Or
Are you in favor of widening it or against it?
in favor of widening it?
Are you in favor of widening it or are you against him widening it?
Really, I'm against it.
Okay. Whoa, well, that's interesting. I thought you were going to say you're for it. You want a better road.
All right, thank you. We will ask. I will ask the applicant to come back up and answer that question.
That's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
Got somebody else?
Yes. What? Do you want to come up and address that question at this point before we call the next person?
Sure, absolutely. So for any widenings or any specific improvements that are off-site, we will need to go through the further stages if we receive approval to determine what level of impacts there are going to be to the surrounding area. So we would be doing a tract impact study, and a tract impact analysis would then occur afterwards to help us determine what off-site improvements there would be, and any that would be required of us we would conform with.
Do you anticipate widening it?
I do not believe at this time we anticipate that from the early methodology that we have provided.
Okay.
Isn't that road dirt? Is that road dirt?
I think so.
Isn't that dirt road?
Before you go back, I'd like to ask you a question about that area, the green area up there that is labeled as Park to Cemetery Road. Right up on the right-hand side of the graph, of the picture. Is that green area up on top of the square? Yeah, that's labeled as Park?
I'm sorry, are you asking if it's labeled as a park?
I see the label as Park.
It's labeled as open space, I believe.
Is what, I'm sorry?
Open space?
Just open space?
Correct.
What are you going to do then to prevent traffic from going from that subdivision out onto Osteen Cemetery Road?
Not in association with the buffer that you were just talking about. You're talking about traffic.
I'm just curious if people would make an egress point of entrance if you're
along this eastern boundary. Is this what you're talking about?
Yeah,
just to make sure.
Yeah, on the eastern boundary, right.
Hi, Tina Lee again. I can address that. That is a park area. It will be a pedestrian access only. There will not be able to bring vehicles there. And Osteen Cemetery Road, in our last communication with the city, it's a cold press substandard road. We are not improving it. We are not allowed to access it other than by emergency vehicles.
Okay.
And so it won't be improved. There will be nothing done with the road. It will be left as is.
We want to make sure that there's no possibility of anybody driving there, but there has to be in order to get access for fire trucks and stuff.
So we have provided in Phase 2 of Fernanda a stabilized emergency access that they will access through Osteen Cemetery Road. It is fenced off right now. At this point, I don't know if the requirement here will be fencing that, but it'll have the ability for the fire or emergency services to enter that site, but it will not allow other vehicular access. It's a pedestrian access only.
Thank you.
But you said that emergency vehicles would be able to get through there?
Yes, we made the open space wide enough to fit the emergency vehicles, but it will act as a pocket park essentially.
So human nature tells me that they will turn it into a driveway.
It will likely be fenced. The requirement will likely be fenced.
I understand.
Thank you. Next public participant.
Hillary Dreggers.
Good evening. Can you tell us your name and your
My name is
address?
Hillary Dreggers. I live at 815 Osteen Cemetery Road, and my husband and I own the 70-plus acres to the west. No, east of the proposed development. We have quite a few concerns that are a little bit different than what's been brought before you guys with the previous plan. We're agriculture. We have a farm. We have animals. We moved a little, technically in the city, but on the edge of the city to have a little bit more space. And as it is already, we've had some issues with animals. A dog a couple months ago got through our electric fence and killed some animals. So the idea that there could be literally across the street from our pastures 100 more houses going in is a little concerning. So we're not opposed to development. We just would like it to be a little bit conscientious of neighbors. So we would like a wall. We would like there not to be any access to Osteen Cemetery Road. I see that there is a park with pedestrian access. I would like people not to be walking their dogs next to all of my farm animals. We also have a great deal with trespassing. We have 2 lakes on our property. We find all kinds of garbage. We find drug paraphernalia. We've run off teenagers. We've run off adults. And the more access that people have, they just think their park continues across the street onto our property. We've had them pull down signs. We've had them pull down barriers that we've tried to put up just to let people know, hey, this is private property. As far as the emergency access, I don't know if there's a gate there now in the current phase that's already been built, but I have seen many cars going down our road that don't go to the cemetery, and I know all of my neighbors' cars because there's only 7 houses. So I believe that people are using that emergency access, or they have been, to access the neighborhood that's already there. Sure. I would suggest, and all but demand if I could, that there be crash gates. I understand emergency vehicles need to get through, and this is not a whole lot of access for a whole lot of people, so I don't want anyone's house to burn, but I also don't want my road, my quiet little sanctuary, to become a major thoroughfare. We have a lot of dumping. A lot of people just don't want to have their tires, so they throw them on our property. We have had mattresses, couches, even green garbage, which is kind of irritating. At least it's green, but they just dump it. So when you have people who could just walk it across the road to dump it into my property, that's a problem for me too, which is why I think a wall all the way down Osteen Cemetery Road and no access. My other question is, this is a rectangle, but that's not the property lines. So the northern lot owns a portion on the other side of Osteen Cemetery Road, and I'd like to know what the plans are with that, because at one point that was going to be a dog park, and that would also back up to my pastures where my cows are. So, my question would be, what are they going to do with that? There's also some historic oaks on that property that they're not my trees. I wish they were, but I'd like to see them saved. And I think that's about all that I have.
Any questions?
Have you had any discussion with these folks at all yet?
We have not been approached, no.
Well, that might be a good idea to at least have some dialogue, I think. But I was curious about that, too. These are your own PowerPoint. It's not staff's, but there is that extra. We'll address that with you. But I just thought you might want to, have some talk with them while they're here, make an arrangement to personally. Your husband wants to say something?
Did I miss something? Can he add
He
something?
wasn't sworn in.
1 second. 1 second. You have to be sworn in for one.
Would you please swear, do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Yes. Just two more points. One of the things that was discussed here this evening was about possible traffic down the road. It should be noted that, if I could see the previous slide that shows the road, we actually own the road. It's allowed for traffic to the cemetery, but we own all the way up to the point that they're buying. So the idea of widening, it's our road.
So they have an easement.
We have an easement, right. The other part of that question is, we know from experience, the previous part of this, the previous phase they built, they raised up property, and a lot of that overflow water now floods onto our property. Is this going to be the same thing that happens with this property? Are they going to then build that land up, because there's a lot of wetlands around there? Is it going to now push more water onto our property? So those are also questions I would like to know about. That's it for me.
Thank you. Would the applicant would you like to address those?
Absolutely. Before I start,
Did you want to talk about the wall at all first, that she mentioned?
So for the walled issue, to the northeastern portion would be a fire hazard in that term and overall emergency responses. So that's why we would have an issue being able to comply with that. However, for the actual green area that you're alluding to, or that someone was alluding to on the board, thank you, sir. Yeah, that's not on the focus on here. That will not be touched at all. That is to be in a remaining of a vegetative state. Yes, correct.
You're going across the road?
Across the road is not being touched. Not being touched. So it's only on the western side of that road that you'll see any development happen. On the eastern side is being preserved. And then as for the wetlands aspect, we are going to be making sure that the stormwater pond is in a manner that is conducive with code, which does require all water to be held on site for drainage purposes. So we'll be going through the calculations to maintain a drainage pond that's going to capture all of that stormwater that comes onto that property. And if there's anything that's off-site that happens to impact our on-site water retention, we'll have to take that into account as well during the overall subdivision construction plan phase and doing the engineering portion of this.
Well, he does have a valid concern with that. We're having a heck of a lot of problems with that in Deltona, the flooding, and a lot of development is not adhering to that. And I could see that completely going into his property. That would cause you a lot of major headaches here down the road if that happens. I don't know where to.
Anything else from our board members? Well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Does staff want to add anything to?
I just wanted to add the piece across from Osteen Cemetery Road, over half of it is wetlands, and they are not touching the wetlands at all. So I just wanted to throw that out as well. It is on the concept plan that's in your packet.
Yeah. Well, this one, just shows that red line going over and across Osteen, the
Correct,
top part.
and that's mostly wetlands.
And so, and plus I don't know how they could do anything with the road there, right? That Osteen Road, it crosses right over it.
Correct.
So, yeah, so that's not going to, so that must not be your line. Maybe your line's down here. Your easement line is down, your property's the lower section, correct? Okay, yeah. I still suggest you might want to get rid. Yeah.
Okay. Well, a member like to make a motion in regards to?
Are we done with, I'm sorry.
We're done with the presentation. We will proceed with the motion, and then we can follow that with the discussion on the motion.
I would like to make a motion that.
Dr. Pfeiffer,
Oh.
I'd like to make a motion to decline this project.
So you would like to make a motion to not recommend?
Yes, correct.
So.
I'm sorry, I'm lost.
He's proposing a motion. So draft propose your motion that you would like.
I propose that we vote no.
Can you please speak into the mic?
Sorry?
Please speak into the mic.
I propose that we vote no on this zone change.
I'll second that.
Okay. Anyone like to have discussion on the motion? Are you ready to vote? No discussion?
Yeah, and yes. The reason I propose that we vote no is I think the area is overburdened and we're just adding problems by this.
Bring the mic closer to you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It moves. There you go.
I'm proposing that we vote no because I think this area is overburdened and we're just adding more problems. And I'd rather have a motion to vote no than to vote no and a motion to vote yes.
Okay. Any discussion? Any other comments? When you do, I'm going to ask them to call a roll, but since it is a quasi-judicial proceeding, you should give a basis for your decisions, your vote.
That's what I want to say.
Very good. All right. Can you?
Member Alexander?
I vote no against this motion, and
Wait a minute, that's a negative.
choose not to discuss it, if that's all right.
We shouldn't have a negative motion, Council. Is that?
Yes.
How do you say it when? I know.
Okay, no negative motions.
Yeah,
I mean-
because you can make a motion to approve it and say no, and that would cover it, but, you know, you don't.
Right.
You're not on either, are you?
You would vote against that motion. So you guys are voting, if you, the one who made the motion, the one who seconded it, you would say yes. If you don't want the motion, then the member would say no. Don't make it more complicated.
Yeah,
Okay, we
please don't.
stopped the negative motions a long time ago, so let's.
All right, we'll proceed as we are now. I think Eric has voted no.
Again, I am voting yes against the motion.
Against the motion, which is in essence in favor of a recommendation.
Member Gonzalez?
I vote no. I'm against the motion also.
Member Rodriguez?
Yes. I do believe that this doesn't serve the area as well as it should. I believe also that based on some of the comments that I've heard, that the people, they have taken information, or they've taken votes from the existing citizens as not to include amenities. Therefore, the people that are coming in will have no amenities, but they have no say-so on it, whether they do or not. And you only have 2 representatives on that board, so I feel like it's flawed. That's why I vote no.
Secretary Amoroso?
I mean, yes, in favor of not approving.
It's going to be complicated. I am also in favor of recommending that the commission not approve this zoning change. I don't see any benefit to our city as it is presented to us. I think it's better than the first one, but it's still not good.
Vice Chair Cardo?
I am in favor of not approving this motion. And the reason why is because there are additional residential zoning classifications that this property could be rezoned to, which would allow for a lesser number of dwelling units. So the property can still be developed, houses can still be put there. They could put 28 houses there now as it sits without a rezone. So I think we're overburdening this property, and we're overburdening the adjacent uses. We're overburdening the roadways, And I don't feel that this is the best use for this piece of property, and that's why I'm voting the way I am.
Chair Burke.
I'm going to vote no. And it's a tough call for me because I really feel as though that we should take in consideration all the matters that the previous board members have expressed. However, I think it is consistent with our comprehensive plan and with the other matters that are before us. And so I will vote no.
Motion passes 4-3.
To decline, that's a shame.
So motion passes 4-3 to decline or to deny the ordinance.
Recommended the commission deny the ordinance.
Hold on.
Am I correct?
Correct.
I don't know why we don't trust our staff.
Sorry. Motion
It's ridiculous.
passes to deny ordinance number 08-2024 to amend the official zoning map to rezone 2 parcels totaling 43.55 acres of land located south of Fernanda Drive and east of Pine Ridge High School, currently zoned City of Deltona Agriculture to single-family classification R1.
Can I ask you a question real quick? I'm sorry, I know it's over, but he just made a comment that we don't know why we don't trust staff. So can you tell me the reasons why you thought this should be approved? Because I didn't hear any of that reason. Is there any kind of reason?
You know what? I hate to interrupt, but I think probably since the matter has already been voted on,
Forget I asked.
procedurally, I think that it would be, I agree. Well, there's one of the recommendations, we could talk about it at another stage. I have some issues I want to address in that regard. So, is there any staff comments?
I know I did send out an email about the workshop. We're still working on it. As soon as there's a date set, I will send out an email, call you guys, let you know exactly when the workshop is going to be. It's looking like it's probably going to be during the weekend, but I will let you guys know with plenty of notice. And there will be a meeting next month.
Okay, any board comments? Anyone? Up? Okay. I'd like to comment. Thank everyone for giving me this opportunity to have confidence in me to handle this matter. But more importantly, I also want to talk about the board getting more education, and maybe workshop will be the opportunity to get it, where we have a better understanding of the process, of the review process, so that we know when we take a vote, we know exactly what role we're playing and what impact it has and what we can expect as far as the procedurally where the application and the development proceeds. And we probably would like more staff. I mean, you gave reasons for why you thought it was amenable, but I guess we should probably ask you more specific questions during the presentation. That's something on us that we will do hopefully in the future. So, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So,
Second.
the board is adjourned.